Hello, family, friends, and fans. I'm Fletcher Roden. This is Fletch Anything. Today on Fletch Anything, the Beatles. How do they measure up to the new designations? Well, you've probably heard of the Beatles. You might not have heard of the new designations. Sounds like a 70s soul singing group, doesn't it? Anyway, I'm Fletcher Roden, and this is Fletch Anything. It's a question and answer type show where you can pop in your questions and comments in the comment section of my YouTube channel or my Facebook page, and I'll get back to you. Then I'll talk about anything I want to talk about. One of the reasons I call it Fletch Anything. Another is that I'm Fletcher Roden, if you don't know me. I'm a writer mostly. I got a ton of books available under my name and others. They're fiction and nonfiction available in paperback and for Kindle and in audiobook format. If you've got Audible or you like iTunes, check me out there. I'm also a recording artist with lots of music to download all over the internet. I've got funny t-shirts and coffee mugs like this one. Better Coin Melvoin. Are you a Sopranos fan? Are you a Better Call Saul fan? Do you like coffee? Anyway, check all those things out at my website, fletcherroden.com. There's a link below. I suggest you subscribe to this channel, this YouTube channel, because that'll make finding Fletch Anything easier, and that'll make getting a free book easier, because I give away a free book at the end of every month. It's not just one book. It's unlimited downloads of a Kindle edition of the book. You don't need a Kindle tablet to read it. You can just download the Kindle Reader app from Amazon. That's free. Then you can read the thing on your laptop or your television or your wristwatch or your telephone or wherever you like to read your books. This week is the freebie week. It's the last week of every month, and it's unlimited downloads. If you should share the links, send the links to your friends. If it's not your kind of book, then maybe it's your neighbor's kind of a book, So the link is below. This week is the freebie week, and it's my new book, Tracking the Lone Wolf. The Sigma at work, at home, and at play. It's a nonfiction book about the inner world and the outer world, basically. It's about the new designations. Alpha and beta just don't cut it, folks, because 1% of the human race is Sigma. And there's also delta, omega, and gamma, and things you need to know about the omega and the beta and the alpha. And there's it's all about personality disorders, personality complexes, reading people, management skills, communication skills, social skill sets of all sorts. It's a guidebook for living. It's nothing less than a guidebook for life. It's necessary reading for every teenager, for everybody in a family, for everybody in a social circle, for everybody in a workplace. Every boss should read this and should have every member of their work team read it, and then they should discuss it. Productivity will soar. So check it out. There's a website, trackingthelonewolf.com. There's a new YouTube channel called at Tracking the Lone Wolf. I believe Fletcher Roden at Tracking the Lone Wolf. There's a link below. There's a new show which discusses subjects from the book and related to the book called Tracking the Lone Wolf, and that's available on the new YouTube channel. There'll also be clips from live performances and live presentations, I should say, things of that sort. There's a new single that is also on that channel called Tracking the Lone Wolf, Fletch's Rap. And you can also get Fletch's Theme, which is the jazz version of the theme song of the show. But there's a new single, a rap version of the new single. So check it out. Lots of fun stuff. And that's what we're talking about this week. And it brought to mind, one thing I talk about in this book, because it's not just dry, it's a lot of research. It is. It's a compendium of information, which you should have. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a corporate manager, but I am a ghostwriter. And as a research writer, a leader in my field, I had all this information. And the information is the information, regardless of who presents it. And of course, it's presented with my own humor, a bit of my own humor, my own style. But you can see how there's a lot of information in it, some lists. It's a compendium of the latest, hottest data. And of course, some humor, and there's a lot of prose in it too. It's not all lists. There's a good amount of fun to be had in the book. And part of it is, I incorporate some pop culture to sort of, explain these things. Because we're not all wolves. I mean, we're much more like the men of the Corleone family than we are like a pack of wolves in captivity. So, so I do the Godfather equation in the book, breaking down the Godfather men uh, by the new designations, and also I do that on my new show, Tracking the Lone Wolf. One of the episodes is that one of the webisodes, I should say, is the Godfather, and then also Jaws. I don't think I do Jaws in the book, but I know I do it in the show, Tracking the Lone Wolf, and it's because who's an alpha, who's a beta, who's a sigma. What does it really mean to be an alpha and a beta and a sigma? I did it. I covered that this week on Fletch Me Anything. You should subscribe to the channel and watch the reruns. They're up for about 2 weeks. Anyway, so the Beatles. Let's talk about the Beatles. In the book, I do a John Lennon study. I study John Lennon. Is John Lennon an alpha? Is he a beta? Is he a sigma, omega, gamma, delta? People would think of him automatically as an alpha. Old-fashioned, prone to physicality, led by force, gravitas. People were certainly willing to follow him. He was considered the leader of this band, and the band was considered the leader of its genre, of its era. It probably was. But, as you'll see if you read the book, and I'm not going to do a whole thing on John Lennon, he also was given to expressions of his emotion, which is not an alpha quality at all. And if you look at the expressions of his emotion, he expresses neediness, clinginess, confusion, a rejection of social structures. These are not alpha qualities at all. The alpha is comfortable in a social structure. The alpha is reliant on a social structure, in fact. Not so John Lennon. Hated it. Hated them. Rejected them the way a sigma might do. So you say, well, let's see. He abdicated. He had the qualities of leadership, but not the desire to lead. He was certainly a lone wolf type, liked to be alone with his mate in his, ivory tower there. And his mate and his cub. Didn't really care about what other people thought. The sigma is pretty indifferent to the opinions of others. Did what he wanted to do, went his own way, danced to his own drum. That's the sigma. But at the same time, he lacked the drive of the sigma. He lacked the adaptability. He was not driven. Even when he was in the Beatles, he always wanted to quit. Apparently, always. He was the first one to officially quit that band. He was in a lot of ways. We think of him as a jokester. Certainly, he was very, very funny. He was very witty, and that puts us in mind of either the gamma or the omega, who share qualities with the sigma and with the alpha, but are neither one. I would almost say gamma for John Lennon, because he was intelligent and capable, but unfocused, more interested in being funny than being he's a hard call, because he has the social conscience, the active social conscience of the sigma and of the beta, but he's not a beta, because he had the self-glorification of the alpha, which is not sigma. He's a hard call. Lennon is a hard call. I'm interested in what you have to say. You can always comment here on this YouTube channel or at Tracking the Lone Wolf channel here on YouTube. You can comment on that. once that episode comes out. So John Lennon's a tough call. Let's move on to Paul McCartney. He is he he's also kind of a tough call. He's got alpha qualities for sure. In his family, he is the alpha male. He's the patriarch of his family, no doubt, and it's a big family with lots of kids. Those McCartneys, boy. Okay, so he has the old-fashioned background of the alpha. He has the desire to lead. He has the gravitas. People will follow him. He has a patriarchal nature. He is protective of his clan, which the alpha is. He's old-fashioned, like I said. Probably stubborn, but he's got adaptability, which others lack. Which the alpha lacks. He's got an active social conscience, which the alpha often lacks. He does go to the dance to his own drum. He does go his own way. He is fairly disinterested in what other people think, or so it would seem. But he's also pretty well attuned to critics, and he's comfortable in a social structure like the alpha. He's in fact the number one songwriter in history or something like that, best-selling songwriter, whatever it is. So he's comfortable in a social structure, and reliant on it in some way. He is status reliant, like the alpha. But he has sigma qualities too. Not an omega, not a gamma, and not a beta, but he does have a lot of the beta qualities. Remember, beta is beautiful. Beta is a strength. By the way, at the new website, you'll probably notice that there are t-shirts available too. Beta is beautiful. That's a shirt. And a coffee mug. Okay, so anyway, that's McCartney. Alpha/Sigma. Hard to say. I would almost say Sigma, but he is reliant on social structures, you know. He needs family. He needs a woman. He's never been alone. He got married, and then he was single for a short time. He got married again, and then he was single for a short time. He got married again. He's reliant on systemic things, largely because of his old-fashioned upbringing, I would say. Another tough call. George Harrison, Sigma, all the way. No question about it. Independent-minded, not prone to leadership, not interested in self-glorification, comfortable being alone, more comfortable gardening than giving a press conference. Intelligent, driven, focused, but with the humility of the beta, and he has some sense of humor, like the gamma and the omega. The sigma has a sense of humor, but not in a showy way. The omega and the gamma, they got to be the center of attention. They're the guys telling a joke so everyone can hear them tell the joke. And that's not a bad thing. The omegas and the gammas are great in a social circle. And they can be good in a workplace environment too, and in the family environment. Because you got to laugh sometime. You got to have a jokester. You got to have someone to relieve the tension. Every romantic comedy has one. But the sigma, but George Harrison wasn't that. He just had a good sense of humor. He was witty, but not showy about it. So that indicates sigma. Everything about him indicates the sigma. Adaptable, had a vision, stuck to it, but his vision required adapting to the climate because he did not really have the social structure that the alpha relies on. McCartney and John Lennon both did more than he did. I mean, he was in the Beatles, but he wasn't one of the main songwriters in the Beatles. So he didn't really have Lennon and McCartney had kind of a social structure created around them, and they fit in to that. I mean, they sort of created it. They pioneered the idea of writing your own songs. They, with Bob Dylan doing it also. Before that, mostly every act was they had professional songwriters. So McCartney and Lennon did the "we'll write our own songs" bit, and then Dylan did it too, and that was all grand. But George Harrison never really could rely on that, and he was never recognized as a songwriter until the very end of the Beatle run, and so he was always on the outside of that system of the Lennon McCartney machine, and he seemed to be comfortable enough there, and he had the spiritual interest of the Sigma and the intellectual curiosity of the Sigma and the drive and the focus and the self-starter aspect, but also lacking the need that the Alpha has. So George Harrison, Sigma. Ringo Starr. I'm not going to bash on Ringo Starr. In truth, a better drummer than many people give him credit for. They say that the mark of greatness is that you can make it look easy. McCartney has that. John Lennon didn't. He always looked to me like he was struggling. McCartney looks like he's just finger snapping and toe tapping and bebopping his way through life. He doesn't work hard enough. It's a little too easy for him. Harrison, different story. But Ringo Starr did have a way of making it look easy, and he certainly does make it sound easy. But I've looked into it, and he's got more chops than that. And he did some crazy things on the drums that you just take for granted. But in the early Beatle years, he did some very complex things that were hard to maintain for 3.5 minutes. So let's give it to Ringo Starr as not just a 2 and a 4. Not the same type of drummer as you would get in today's world. He's not the same type of drummer that his son is. His son Zach Starkey is. I've seen him play live. He's very good. He's the drummer for the Who, and he's much more like in the Neil Peart tradition, or one of these modern drummers. He's not just a skiffle beat guy. You can't be a drummer in this world doing that. Anyway, so Ringo Starr, alpha, beta, what? I would say he's a tough call. I would go beta with Ringo. He doesn't, he does his job like the beta does. Even though his job is not a beta job to be a rock star, it's not your naturally beta job. The beta is more likely to be the recording engineer or the producer, or the sideman, But he was kind of the sideman. In the Beatles, he was the beta for sure. He kept his head down and he did his job. He kept the thing going. He was the stalwart. Remember, beta is beautiful. It's not weak. It's not lesser. It's reliable. It's necessary. It's part of the team. Keeps the team going. Not the star. Not wanting to be the star. Not needing to be the leader. Content to follow. Knowing that the greater good is more important than the self-glorification. And that's Ringo Starr to me. Even in his own solo career, he does this Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band. Now it's obviously a marketing gimmick, and it was a clever marketing gimmick. I've seen it once. Doesn't matter. It shows that the guy cares more about the show. He's happy to pass off this. Everybody gets 2 songs in the All-Star Band. When I saw it, John Entwistle was the bass player. He got 2 songs. Couldn't sing them, but he got them. And whatever, Richard Marx got 2 songs. When Roger Hodgson was in it, he did his 2 hits from Breakfast in America, I imagine. I didn't see that show. But Ringo will pass the buck. He doesn't mind. He leads because he has to, because that's his job, because he has to make a living. And Lord knows he ain't making it selling EPs. He makes it on tour. And he plays drums for other people on his own tour because he's a beta. And a beta is a good thing. Beta is beautiful. Beta is necessary. But he's not really an alpha. I mean, maybe he is at home with his kids. He's got the old-fashioned lifestyle. He's got the old-fashioned upbringing, conservative, but also progressive in his way. I mean, I'm sure he's a complex person. He's likely to be the patriarch of his clan, likely to be an alpha at home and a beta at work. That's an example of that. That's where we see that happening. That happens a lot. And that's okay. You are what you are required to be. You fill the niche which needs to be filled. But the alpha at home is not necessarily the great thing. You don't want an alpha at home who's stubborn, old-fashioned, implacable, resistant to change, won't be challenged, afraid, insecure of a shifting of the status. Those are not good qualities. The alpha has a lot of drawbacks, as you'll read in my book, Tracking the Lone Wolf. And you'll read about the Beatles. And so anyway, there you go. That's the Beatles summed up. I would say John Lennon, hard to call. McCartney, alpha / sigma, a rare hybrid. Also hard to call. George Harrison, sigma, definitely. Ringo, beta, definitely. And I don't think that's in this book, but there's lots of other fun things in this book, and it's got a sense of humor, and it's a fun read, and the information is so, so valuable. You have to know how to read people. You have to know who you are in life. You have to know who everybody else around you is too. You might have a sociopath in your midst and not even know it. Your child, your teenager may be developing narcissistic tendencies, and you may not even know it. Your kid may be a delta when they should be developing into an alpha, but they're going wrong, and you're missing it because you don't know. It's okay that you're missing it. It's okay that you don't know because the information wasn't available to you until now. And it's available to you free. This week, it's a free download, Kindle, all you can download. I think it's 1 download per person, but 1 million people can download it. Forward the link to a friend or forward this link to a friend, and they can skip the show and just use the link. It's unlimited. It's free all week. Kindle edition. If you don't have a Kindle tablet, you can just download the Kindle Reader app. That's free from Amazon. You should have that anyway, so you can partake of the cool Kindle books. All of my books are on Kindle. All books are on Kindle. If you don't have the Kindle Reader app, why not? It's free. You don't have to buy the tablet. Just download the app and subscribe to this channel, by the way, too, because I give away a free book at the end of every month, and this show is where I put the link. So you don't have to subscribe, but it does make finding these easier. And then it'll make finding other things easier. Links to my other show, links to my other channel, news about things I'm doing, lots of fun stuff. You want to stay tuned. You want to stay in touch. So do it, subscribe, and all that. Let's see, a little more about this show. It's a Monday through Friday experience, if you don't know. I post around noon-ish. I leave them up for about a week or more. Sometimes I'll leave them up forever, but sometimes I take them down. If they're timely, I usually leave them up for limited time because sometimes they're long and they occupy a lot of space online, and I'm not sure that that's a good thing. So watch them while you can. Subscribe to the channel and check out my new book. It's free, Tracking the Lone Wolf, the Sigma at Work, at Home, and at Play. Check out the new show, and stay tuned for more. It's a very exciting time. That's it. This is Fletcher Roden signing off for Tracking the Lone Wolf, hoping that until next time you are happy and stay healthy. Bye, Mary.